watching teleSUR English. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news, and we do so in China. On Sunday, the Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro arrived in the province of Shandong, the third stop of his six-day tour of the Asian nation. The presidential office reported that the leader arrived at Yaoqian International Airport in the city of Jinan, in the northeast of the country, where he was greeted along with his delegation by the vice governor and a group of high-ranking regional officials. During the third working day, Caracas and Beijing continue to strengthen their cooperation ties in political, commercial, financial, and technological matters, a link maintained since the beginning of their diplomatic relations in 1974. Earlier on Sunday, the Venezuelan president visited the Shandong Artificial Intelligence Island Experimental Center as part of his official visit to the Republic of China. During the tour, President Maduro learned about the use of technology in land traffic control regulations, the operation of the virtual classroom, and the latest technological breakthroughs. Maduro also held meetings with local authorities, which he described as positive, while emphasizing the deep brotherhood between China and Venezuela and the willingness to enhance friendly exchanges for the prosperity of the two peoples, with a view to building a new world based on equality and respect. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro declared that the people of China and Venezuela are friends who share a common destiny in the world to come. During an exclusive interview with the Chinese agency Xinhua, Maduro stressed that there is a model relationship between Beijing and Caracas. Furthermore, he affirmed that the Asian giant has inaugurated a new era of the emergence of non-colonialist superpowers. The president stressed the courage of the Chinese government and people to denounce the illegal sanctions against Venezuela and highlight that in spite of the coercive and unilateral measures, the country has shown outstanding economic growth.
Venezuela had good results in the second semester of 2021. We had very good results in the year 2022, with a growth of over 15%, and this year a growth of over 5% is expected. With a new economy that generates good service and begins to generate wealth for the country, step by step, little by little, we could say that it is an achievement of a whole country.
President Maduro pointed out that illegal looting of the Citgo company owned by Venezuela proved the insecurity that war investors have in the United States.
This company was seized during the time of Donald Trump's government and is trying to be auctioned off, which shows the insecurity that the world's investors have in the United States. This shows that they do not respect laws. They do not respect property rights. They do not respect international law. Quite simply, it is a plundering. We do not renounce the defense and the recovery of Citgo for its legitimate owner, because the legitimate owner of this powerful company in the United States is not Nicolás Maduro. It is not a person. It is not a private individual. The legitimate owner of Citgo is the Venezuelan people.
Likewise, the Venezuelan head of state described the relationship between the government and people of China as one of true brotherhood and friendship.
I believe that the ties between the governments and peoples of China and Venezuela are of intimate mutual trust, of true brotherhood, of cooperation for shared development, relations that have proven over the years to be fruitful relationships, where we mutually nurture each other with great ideas, with great projects.
President Maduro stated that China contributes to the creation of a world without colonialism.
I see that the path that President Xi Jinping has set out is uniting the peoples in all aspects of the economy, trade, and culture, and is laying the foundations to leave behind the old world of colonialism and imperialism.
We're going to take a short break, but not without inviting you first to join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you can keep up to date with the news of the world in different formats. Stay tuned with teleSUR. We're back after a short break. Welcome back from the south. In Chile, despite police repression, citizens mobilized arrived at the General Cemetery as part of the commemorative acts before the 50th anniversary of the coup d'etat and assassination of President Salvador Allende. On Sunday, social movements marched through the streets of Santiago, heading to the General Cemetery to honor the memory of the victims of the coup d'etat. As they passed by the Palacio de la Moneda, they were repressed with tear gas and water trucks, with the aim of dispersing them and preventing their arrival at the cemetery. The mobilized population called upon human rights organizations to denounce this strong repression. And Chileans living in Costa Rica paid tribute to Victor Jara as part of the commemorations also of the 50th anniversary of the coup d'etat against Salvador Allende. Songwriter, singer, revolutionary militant Victor Jara was one of the over 40,000 people killed by the Augusto Pinochet dictatorship after the coup d'etat and assassination of the then Chilean President Salvador Allende. Jara has been acknowledged for his contribution in rescuing popular traditions and for the social vindication of the dispossessed classes in Chile. Arrested on September 12, 1973, along with dozens of university professors and students, he was taken to the Chile Stadium where he was tortured and executed by the Chilean armed forces.
It was a mere chance to have met him under such circumstances, and I was glad to get to know him a bit. Never imagined it would be such a historical moment. Perhaps the only rewarding thing in my life has been to be a constant militant in the social struggle for justice. In those days of struggle, I became an eternal student. I almost did not finish my studies because I was too involved in the voting campaign, and that was very interesting. Having met Victor Jara was like an infusion of spirituality.
In Morocco, search and rescue teams continue their operations after the deadly earthquake that hit Morocco on Friday. Lucia Muñoz from the site has more details on the current situation in the country.
Un saludo a toda la audiencia de teleSUR. Nos encontramos.
Greetings to our teleSUR audience. We are now in the epicenter of the earthquake in Morocco, specifically in the city of Amesmes, a city that lived this earthquake with greater intensity. The magnitude of the earthquake was 6.8, the largest earthquake recorded so far in the country. The consequences are completely visible. As you can see, the building here behind me has been completely destroyed. You can also see personal items that tell stories of the people who lived here. In the remains of these buildings, rescue teams continue to look for survivors of the earthquake. In addition, you can see a large institutional deployment. This is mainly because we are in one of the strongest economic points of the country, where it's developing a great economic capacity through tourism. A big difference with respect to other areas visited by teleSUR, such as the rural areas of Moulay Ibrahim, an area where the houses are built practically out of adobe. The lack of structure has caused these buildings to fall more quickly, leaving greater numbers of victims. In these rural areas, just a few years ago, there was no water or electricity. But now, in the place where we are, due to the disaster caused by the earthquake, the lack of coverage and electricity is also noticeable.
The government of China renewed this Sunday a yellow alert for storms expected to affect the southern part of the country, which could increase the disaster situation in the region. According to the National Observatory, heavy rains are expected to fall in at least 7 regions of the Asian giant, which increases the complexity of the scenario left by the recent rainfall. In view of this, local governments are implementing traffic control measures on the most vulnerable stretches of roads. These regions are ready to disconnect at-risk outdoor power supplies, temporarily suspend outdoor operations, and relocate people in danger. We're going to take a final short break, but remember you can join us on YouTube on our channel at teleSUR English, where you can find our special broadcastings, interviews, and much more. Click on the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. For a short break, we'll be right back. Welcome back from the south. On Saturday, thousands of Israelis protested against the judicial reform pushed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The latest demonstration comes ahead of a hearing this Tuesday at the Supreme Court to overturn Parliament's July vote to limit the so-called reasonableness clause. Also, a 15-judge panel of the High Court will hear petitions against the reasonableness law, which should bear in mind that the legal instrument which prohibits the court from overturning ministerial or cabinet decisions based on their reasonableness was the first of the government's proposed package reforms to receive the go-ahead. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, on Sunday handed over the presidency of the Group of 20 to Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula Silva, who will formally assume the presidency of the group as of next December. During the closing ceremony of the G20 summit, which took place this Saturday and Sunday in New Delhi, Lula Silva expressed his gratitude for India's efforts as leader of the group, which has achieved, among other issues, the inclusion of the African Union. President Lula also expressed that under his presidency, the G20 will focus on three priorities: social inclusion, energy transition, and sustainable development in the social, economic, and environmental spheres. For his part, Modi concluded his last speech by proposing a meeting in November to address the suggestions discussed at this summit. Niger's transitional government condemns France for plotting an aggression against its administration. The military accused Paris of masterminding a joint intervention with Benin, Ivory Coast, and Senegal, which they consider a conspiracy, and warned that they will respond to any form of attack against Niamey. Military authorities affirmed that the armored vehicles of the French army are deployed in the commune of Malanville in Benin, with several war helicopters and French military are in the Ivory Coast, together with warplanes of the French military in Senegal, all said to be used against Niger. In this regard, the military junta stated that they have intelligence on this conspiracy prepared by the French army in collaboration with ECOWAS countries. On Sunday, Gabon Prime Minister Raymond Don Sigma described as reasonable a transition period of 2 years before free elections. The Prime Minister said that the period could end up being slightly longer or shorter. Don Sigma was appointed last week as head of the transitional government by General Brice Oligui Nguema, who led the August coup d'etat against President Ali Bongo Ondimba. The coup happened on August 30th, moments after Bongo had been declared the winner of a presidential election which both the army and the opposition declared fraudulent. We have come to the end of this news brief from you. You can find this and more on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social medias to stay up to date on the information of the world. For Telesur English, Luis Alberto Matos, thank you for watching.